another episode of the Pop Shock Podcast. Today we have a skeleton crew, it's myself and Massimo. How you doing, Mass?
With other ones left.
I'm Dan. This is Pop Shock Podcast. Doesn't matter, we'll be here every week.
We'll try to anyway.
Right, so today we're going to do an episode all about the recent, well, as of recording, don't know when this will be uploaded, but as of recording, Xbox/Microsoft recently acquired Activision Blizzard, and the biggest deal in gaming history, in the gaming market ever.
Yeah.
Blows the Bethesda one out the water, and it blows everything else out the water.
I mean, what was it we were saying before? It was before we start recording. It was $69 billion.
So $68.7 billion is the price of the transaction, and as you said, that's $95 per share. This was announced on Tuesday, and I believe they said that they want to have it finalised by is it the end of the next fiscal year?
It was announced obviously on Tuesday 18th of January, and I think you're right. They did say they wanted to have it done by the next is it fiscal year, fiscal quarter? I can't quite remember because I think it was like quarter 3 of the next fiscal quarter, which would be like late this year, early next year. I think. That's fine.
But I mean, the Bethesda one moved pretty quickly. I realise that every case is unique with this stuff, but
I think the issues, I think we could get into it as well, is that the big issue is that there are a lot of stuff that Activision has to honour with other companies that they are contractually obligated to at the moment.
Backdated deals are always a laugh when it comes to things like this. But first off, let's just what was your first impressions when you seen this? What was your first thought?
I said it off in the group chat that we're all in, and what I said was that I feel like Microsoft are making a play for the exclusive market. They're making a play to have the best games only available on their platforms, which will, whether that be Xbox or through Game Pass, most likely is what will happen. Is I feel like they're fully gonna transition to that live service game subscription model. And I feel like it's going to give Sony a really big run for their money in terms of what they have to do next to kind of keep up the competition. It's kind of my first initial thoughts.
My first take was just my take when they bought Bethesda was, it's nice to see them make an effort here, because at that point, before Microsoft bought Bethesda, just around the launch of the consoles, well, just before the consoles launched, PS4 was dominating, and PS5 pre-orders were dominating the Xbox ones. So the Bethesda acquisition really changed things in its own right. But at that stage, it did feel very much like, and I wrote an article about this and kind of mentioned it kind of felt like two companies that were both on their back. Xbox were obviously suffering for Sony were absolutely outselling them like 10-1 or some crazy statistic at that stage, and Bethesda had just released Elder Scrolls Online. What was the other mediocre game they released? Prey, I think. It didn't do very well financially, and then they had obviously Fallout 76, which is a big one. So they were kind of in the bad books, and people were kind of getting sick of their shit and being like, "I'm not buying Bethesda again," and blah blah blah. So it did kind of feel like two companies, not on their back financially, they're still massive multi-billion-dollar companies, but in the eyes,
a wee bit.
In the eyes of the consumer, they were both on their backs, I'd say, in terms of like favourability. So the fact it was they two kind of helping each other back up and merging, I was like, fair dues, because I think see, my opinion has changed quite recently because I've built a gaming PC.
I'm also the same. I've
got a PC capable of running modern games. If I didn't, I would probably feel quite different about this. I would probably feel like something was being taken away from me. Whereas
I'm inclined to agree with you thoroughly, because I've only just got a PC in the last 6 to 8 months or so. And it's like night and day, and I feel like I could go back to consoles and that, but the accessibility and the kind of ease for users on PC is incredible for games, especially. I think, in my opinion, because I think there's a lot of, obviously port wise, it's not always great, but I feel like in terms of it's a weird one. I don't know.
It's definitely became easier, but what you were saying about ease of use, I definitely think, I know that updates are a pain in the arse, like forced updates. It doesn't matter if you're on PC or console, they're a pain in the arse. But other than that, the process of just, if you're still buying physical when it comes to your consoles, all you're doing is going to the shop, buy or ordering a disc off Amazon, put it in the machine and playing the game. Whereas PC has got a lot more, especially if you're downloading mods and shit like that. Like, you just start to have all sorts of folders, and then games end up not working, and then you have to enable something, the launcher's not set, and there's a lot more fanning about when it comes to putting up a PC game. To be fair, the big kind of game engines on PC, like your Steams and what's someone called the Epic one, the Epic launcher. Store. Like they've kind of streamlined it a lot and made it a lot easier. But not every game is available on those platforms. True. So, PC game can be a wee bit more pernickety. I still use both personally. I play some stuff on PC. I mostly play COD Warzone on my PC. And honestly, the only real reason for that is I've got an ultra wide monitor, so it's a bit more immersive. Even though I've got a 75-inch in the living room, but it takes up so much room in your console. Do you know what I mean? And it's just better in PC. I prefer it in PC. Don't get me wrong, I'm a bit of Philistine. Even though when I play in PC, I use a controller, which I know is very frowned upon. But
by certain people, you're the devil.
I'm just not a keyboard and mouse guy. I never have been.
No, I think I definitely agree with you. I think the main thing that keeps me on my PlayStation is the exclusives, whether that be Ghost of Tsushima or Spider-Man or God of War or even Horizon. I've got Horizon on the PC now.
Yep.
I got it fairly recently. I got it for
God of War's now on PC.
God of War's now on PC. So here's the thing, a big thing as well is that, which will obviously links massively to the idea of all Activision stuff, is that the exclusive as a concept is kind of faltering away. And I obviously said that I thought that originally Xbox were going to make a play for the exclusive market, but I feel like at that same time Sony are trying to broach it and by making deals with different like stores and launchers and stuff like that kind of thing, like whether having the deals with Epic or whoever, Steam or whatever, and trying to basically push their products out there, because you've got Uncharted as well that's out at the end of the month.
Yep.
Got Lost Legacy and 4 that are being remastered for PC. I said you got God of War, and Horizon and Days Gone have been out since middle of last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like
Death Stranding.
Yeah,
it is.
PC. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, like I said, I think that has really kind of shifted my opinion. Yeah. If we were still at a stage where I was
on consoles,
only owned a PlayStation, I'd be pretty pissed off that you weren't getting to play the next Elder Scrolls, or you weren't getting to play Starfield or whatever.
Here's the thing about that as well. Obviously, this whole exclusivity deal is coming in the wake of all the stuff that happened recently with Blizzard.
Well, yeah, he's going to get to that as well.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Like, now that this has happened, right? So it's a bit of distance to the Bethesda thing now. Now that this has happened, it kind of seems like Microsoft is pretty savvy. I mean, it's a bit kind of cold and heartless, but it's pretty savvy to be like, right, this company's in trouble. They need help.
I think they got a steal.
Now we swoop in. Do you know what I mean?
I think they got an absolute steal. I don't think they would have been able to do this at any point in Activision's history, because Activision, publishing COD, you've got like all these different games. The catalog's incredible. Blizzard's fantastic as well. Like StarCraft, fucking Warcraft, Overwatch, whatever. You put a games list together at one point of what actually Microsoft own at this point, and it is staggering the amount of money that they've put towards the kind of their gaming sector, because that's what I know. Obviously Microsoft is for PCs, but they're definitely trying to move towards that kind of savvy financial play of buying up all the best and brightest kind of games.
It's nuts that Crash Bandicoot's now taken on Xbox character. That's a game mindfuck.
A game that is
so
known to be
intrinsically tied to Sony and PlayStation, and it's now an Xbox One thing. The games list is crazy. I think the one kind of positive that I can take away for this, I hope it gives Sony a kick up the arse when it comes to the whole Games Pass thing.
I hope so,
because people have been screaming out for ages for a Sony version of Games Pass. And they've tried to half-arse it with PS Now and things like that, but it's not the same.
So here's the thing as well, is that I've heard this, and I don't know how true it is, but apparently a lot of PS3 games are starting to pop up on the PS5.
Yes, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Because I was just going to say that there are so many games that are stuck on old consoles. Like Metal Gear Solid is one of the most iconic gaming franchises ever, and you need to have an old console to play. I think 4 specifically is stuck on PS3.
Yeah. Also,
Um,
you've got Sly Cooper as well. The Sly Cooper trilogy. There's not been a re-release of them. There was it for PS4. The all of the Sly Cooper trilogy, the first three games, whatever, are only available on PC, PS3, unless you try and emulate it on PC. But even then,
yeah.
it's still not the same kind of thing. And even if you go on like that as well, you've got like Jack and Daxter as well.
Hmm.
You know, and
Yeah.
not a bunch of the Naughty Dog stuff. It's mental.
Well, no, they did do a Jack and Daxter remaster, did they not, for
Yeah,
PS4?
but I feel like it was a bit like a remaster. It's not really, you know what I mean? It's not really a remaster. It's not like Resident Evil style.
No, no, it's not a
Yeah,
remake, but
yeah.
yeah,
But it's
but it's playable on a new console.
yeah,
Whereas there is games that are actually literally stuck on
yeah.
one console, which is kind of nuts and sad.
That's it.
But yeah, with this though, I was surprised kind of when I first read it, and then I was like, no, that makes a lot of sense because the Xbox obviously they've got the financial money there to back them up, and they're making plays, as you said, to elbow Sony
Yeah,
out. But I mean, there is just some fascinating stuff about the whole thing. I mean, that Bobby Kotick, his one foot in, one foot out saga
hmm
has been interesting. Like at first, it was said that he was going to stay in charge of Activision Blizzard as CEO, and he was going to report to Phil Spencer. And it's now been said that no, he's not. He's out.
okay.
So it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of a lot of mixed media, mixed messages. There's still a lot of people, like a lot of people, particularly women, who don't feel like enough has been done to redeem what happened in any way at Activision Blizzard. That is still hanging over people, and it's just not really been dealt with. And it's like, we'll just buy the company, owned by somebody else, and move on. And it just feels like they're kind of maybe trying to sweep it under the rug a wee bit.
I think that's the big thing as well is that the fact that they I don't feel like they've actually said that many women aren't feeling comfortable. I feel like they haven't made it a safe environment to work in,
Hmm.
and I don't know, the whole thing of guilty by association, for that company. Like, of
Yeah,
course, Microsoft's a bowed down company, but they are taking on in a sense a tainted brand in a way.
yeah,
Over the past 6 months, it's been an absolute terrible. Maybe it's been more than that. It's been way more than that. It's probably been closer to the year since those allegations probably started filtering out into the press, right?
it
Give or take.
was it was July.
Yeah, so
It
it's
was July
it's been a
because
long
it
time.
was around the time I was moving house, so it was last
Yeah,
July.
so 8 9 months, what has, and even obviously before that, like I just feel like Microsoft has made an amazing business acquisition, but the other aspects that come along with that should definitely be questions, and there should definitely be a change, like a full change of house at Blizzard, and hopefully under Microsoft's maybe banner, they might end up being uh, more kind of make it a more secure workplace and more safe workplace for people.
Yeah.
But only time will tell as to how different Activision will be under Microsoft.
Would you like to just quickly go through the list of IPs that now are owned by Microsoft?
Go for it.
I mean, this isn't a complete list, but this is the kind of big hitters. Minecraft, which in and of itself is a
Massive.
multi-billion-dollar franchise. StarCraft, which they haven't done anything with in a while, but I think this could be a chance for Xbox to revive that as an exclusive.
Yeah.
Warcraft, Call of Duty, Age of Empires, Gears of War, State of Decay, Fable, Fallout, Forza, Diablo, Doom, Dishonored, Deathloop, which is a fascinating
Yes.
one. So
Arcade,
that's
because
a
that was
PlayStation exclusive that Xbox now own. It's what? Halo, Hellblade, Starfield, Psychonauts.
Hellblade's another one. Hellblade was exclusively PlayStation as well, which
Yeah,
was
and then it came to PC later. Yeah.
yeah.
Psychonauts, Evil Within, Elder Scrolls, Candy Crush, Quake, Overwatch, Wolfenstein, Crash Bandicoot,
Good, yeah.
plenty of other ones, but those are the kind of big hitters. I mean, when you think of those franchises, it does make up a lot of the market. Like it does, it's starting to feel like when you think about exclusive games, big hitters.
Yeah.
I think when Xbox bought Bethesda, it still wasn't so much in Microsoft's favour. But now when you add in all these other Activision Blizzard games, all of a sudden it feels like it's 60-40, 70-30. Do you know what I
So
mean
here's
in
my
terms of the
favorite.
split?
Yeah, so here's one of my favorite things. Is well, one of my favorite things. One of the funniest things about it is that most of the Blizzard games that they acquired, or Bethesda games, sorry, that they acquired, specifically the Wolfenstein stuff, have terrible PC ports
Yeah,
that haven't been fixed since they've
Yeah.
been turned to because I was trying to play the original Wolfenstein on PC and Wolfenstein 2 as well, actually, both of them. None of them would like it was full on like it would crash. I've got a basically brand new beefy PC like RTX 6700 Ti, fucking good, a really good. I think I've got what have I got? The AMD graphics card, whatever it is. But I've you can tell I didn't totally buy my PC pre-built.
He's a
Of
filthy
course,
pre-built.
yeah, I'm a filthy pre-built master. It was a lot cheaper at the time anyway. And it's still cheaper now.
To be fair, well, I was going to say, like, in one
Yeah.
breath, I was talking to my mate about it, and I was like, this is a good time to build a gaming PC because he's thinking about it. And I was like, this is a good time because what's just happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's so difficult now to acquire parts that it's kind of catch-22. It's like, it's a great time to build a PC if you can find a graphics card.
Yeah, that's the main thing. That's the biggest thing about it. I mean, I got my pre-built for a reasonable price. I'm not going to disclose how much that was because, finances. But like it was a reasonable price for what I was getting.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm trying this out on my phone. It's not opening there either.
Well, that's absolutely. But yeah, no. The thing about it as well is it's funny to me that Bethesda have so many games that are on PC exclusive. Well, PC exclusively. Like Microsoft owns them, but the PC ports versions just don't work.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to hope that that Microsoft in the future is going to fix its compatibility issues. I mean, I think Game Pass is a big step in the right direction for that because it's basically allowing that kind of cloud play for games, cross-platform stuff, like all that kind of things. And you can basically play most games that are available on Xbox on Game Pass on PC, and you can play most games that are PC available for Game Pass on Xbox.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the big assumption that a lot of people made I keep going back to the Bethesda deal, right? But when Microsoft bought Bethesda, I was quite unsure. We were like, right, okay, they've bought Bethesda, but does that mean that Fallout's now an exclusive? Does that mean that, Elder Scrolls, these kind of huge franchises that have always been multi-platform, are they now exclusive? And it did take a while for that to come out. But now that at least Starfield has been confirmed as an exclusive, and I think something was said about the next Elder Scrolls being exclusive, but I might be wrong about that one.
I think there was. I think I heard something about the date changing, the release date maybe changing about it. I think
at the very least it will be a timed exclusive. But
yeah.
Anyway, so now that was the case, I think a lot of people, myself included, when they heard about the Activision deal, kind of automatically assumed like, shit, does that mean that Call of Duty is now an Xbox exclusive? Like that was kind of a lot of the chatter online.
It reminds me that we went almost full circle because I remember back in the day that it was Activision and Xbox and Microsoft had an exclusive deal for all the COD content.
Yeah.
And then about 2016,
it's just bounced.
Changed, yeah,
it's bounced. Because it was, as you said, it was always Microsoft.
And then it became
Modern Warfare. It was always on Microsoft, and then
up until Black Ops 3.
Yeah, or World War II, round about that era anyway, like 2013, 2014, when Xbox shut the bed with the Xbox One and Sony brought out the PS4. It was around that time, and then it became a Sony thing, all the timed exclusives, and now it's back to Microsoft. It's amazing how it's a literal example of the pendulum swinging, do you know what I mean, between Southampton politics as well, I suppose. But though Sony have come out with a statement which has cast some doubt over how exclusive these games will be. Sony basically said it was a bit weird how it was worded. I found the statement.
Would you want me to read it, or
yes? You go for it.
So apparently, speaking to the Wall Street Journal, Sony said this about Microsoft's responsibility to honour Activision's existing contract. We expect that Microsoft will abide by contractual agreements and continue to ensure Activision games are multi-platform. That seems like almost like you're completely putting that to bed. However, Phil Spencer's statement on the same issue is arguably a little bit more unclear.
What does he say, sorry?
He says, I'll just say to players out there who are playing Activision games on Sony's platforms, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform. Yeah. And we remain committed to that. Yeah. So he seems fairly certain that it will actually be, they'll keep it, they'll keep the exclusives together and they won't make everything only available on Xbox and PC.
I think the most interesting word in that statement was expects. We expect. That almost kind of, I found it a wee bit like he was wee guy in Microsoft. Like when you pure wee guy
Yeah.
someday, you're like, I mate, sound if you want. Like I just feel like PlayStation being like, we expect it, you'll do this. It has that kind of sense of superiority to it, in my opinion. It's just kind of wee guy Microsoft a wee bit, but I don't know. I find that interesting how they've not came out and concrete said I don't know, but they've come out. It's See, to be honest, it read very Donald Trump to me. I
Yeah.
expect you to do this. Like that's a very like Trumpian statement to make. That was my first thought when I read it anyway, and I was like, "Who do you think you are, mate?" Like,
I
do
know
you know
it's
what
such
I mean? I
it's
was
such
like,
a weirdly specific thing
"There."
where he's
At the end of the day, Microsoft are a massive company. You can't just be like, "We expect you to do this." Like you're not the mafia. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we already have this office in place.
Aye, but no, that's the other thing as well. When we were speaking earlier, again, I know I keep bringing us back to Bethesda, but it is the big comparison point.
Phil
They had
Spencer wakes up with a horse head in his bed.
they had we had Andrew House in the corner, like from in the right. Yes, when it was a Bethesda deal, they already had exclusives, and I mean
Yeah.
console exclusive deals set for Deathloop and Tokyo Ghostwire, which again such a weird one. Tokyo Ghostwire will still be released, I think, pretty sure.
On PS5 earlier than
But
the
it's being distributed by Xbox. What? It's
doesn't make
insane.
any
Like,
sense. It's
it's
just
so strange.
it is really like fully like they're so I don't even know it's so like weird like mirror world like we're
Like,
in like the darkest time. It's like this weird thing where it's like a company is owning this other company but still has to
yeah.
fulfill its contractual agreements, so it's producing its rivals fucking
I mean, see the idea like booting up an exclusive on your PlayStation and seeing the
and it has
Microsoft
the
logo.
Microsoft.
You'd be
Yeah.
like, what? Aye, it's strange. But the Activision deal, there wasn't publicly. I'm sure there are deals that have been made silently, but as far as we know, the general public, there's no deals been made. The way there was with Bethesda, we knew about Deathloop and we knew about Tokyo Ghostwire before that acquisition was even announced. Whereas there's nothing like that with Activision Blizzard. That's sort of been set in stone as a Sony exclusive that we
Yeah.
know about. So I think that's quite a major difference. It gives them a bit more leeway, and it gives them a bit more leeway to be vague about it. Like you don't need to come out
Yeah.
and say like, right, you might have pre-ordered this game, so we need to tell you that you will still get it for that console exclusively. And that was kind of what it felt like with Bethesda. Whereas now it's like, we don't need to tell you shit.
Yeah.
We can be as
Just
vague as we want. Like, yeah,
honestly, it's gonna make an interesting climate in the future for people like, well, we are a subsidiary of Activision, but we already had these exclusive deals in place
yeah.
with Sony.
Do you know?
So
As is often the case with big multi-billion-dollar deals like this, the person that will be affected most will be the little guy. It'll be the small studios that
yeah,
that
that's what I'm
maybe had
saying.
a
Like,
publishing
yeah,
deal with, as
that's
you're
what I would.
saying, with
Yeah,
one company or the other, that might now just get scrapped or forgot about because the circumstances have
yeah.
changed.
Especially if the games are early in development, like stuff like Ghostwire, you can't really pull because it's been delayed or it was
Yeah,
delayed for a little bit, and then
a company the size of like Tango Gameworks, I don't think that
yeah,
would be the
or
case.
even
But
anything that Arcane kind of produces isn't really
yeah,
going to get affected that
I
much,
mean,
especially.
I guess Microsoft they do still have their indie games, but Microsoft have never been as dedicated to indie games as PlayStation have.
Yeah,
So that is, I guess, a bit of a difference. But obviously, the PC space is haven for indie games, so that's a kind of different matter.
yeah.
But I think I'll make for a fascinating E3 next year. I think like I can't wait to see the Microsoft conference.
I was gonna
Like,
say
it's going to
that
be
that'll
insane.
be yeah, because I know that
It's
Sony usually beats them at the park a lot of time,
yeah.
in terms of content that they're
Well,
producing. But well,
that's
yeah,
Sony have been saying for ages we've got, is it 25 or 35 exclusives in development, and okay, we've seen a few of them at the PlayStation
you like
showcase when they
got
showed the
Wolverine, you got
Wolverine,
Spider
Spider-Man.
Man,
Like
God of War.
they did show us a few, but not enough to like. I feel like they've been talking about this all these aces that have got up their sleeve for like a year now, and they've not showed us it, and it's like, well, maybe now's the time since the
Like
Xbox are buying everybody their data.
it
Like,
goes back to months and months ago, all the stuff with Kojima, doesn't it?
in what sense?
To give you PTSD of like maybe that's one of the exclusives that they have up their sleeve. Who knows? But as you said, it's completely undefined. We don't know what they have. We don't know what they don't have. They haven't really revealed that much. They maybe got 5 or 6. But you're right. Initially, from that 25 to 30 list that they apparently had, Sony at the moment really are now going to have to step up their game and to compete on any level with Microsoft, considering that Microsoft will have all of the fucking cards.
Yeah. I mean, I think my main takeaway, I'm interested in game development. I did animation at uni, for those that don't know. And gaming news and media and stuff, it's just something I've always followed, and I've always been into playing games. So, as a consumer, I've never ever liked exclusives. Like, see, it's being a young guy in school, and all your pals had Gears of War and Halo, and you were stuck with what were the PlayStation exclusives at that time? I can't even think.
What, Little Big Planet?
Uncharted, I guess you had Uncharted. That was kind of in that kind of era. But you don't. I never liked no being able to talk to my pals about Uncharted the same way that I hated being left out the conversation when it came to Gears of War. Do you know what I mean? I've never liked exclusives, and I've never liked how it splits the market.
I mean,
but
I think that was always a big thing as well, that it always dictated what you were going to get when you were younger, was what your friends had.
Yep.
You know, that's
100%.
always a big
I mean,
thing.
to be fair, I was always the weirdo that just bought PlayStation. Like, I had this weird brand loyalty when I was young that was like, no, PlayStation's better. Whereas now I'm older, I'm like, they're both scummy companies, it doesn't matter.
Regardless of who you go for.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, it's because I was not as cynical as I am now. But, from a consumer perspective, I've never been a fan of exclusives, but I do understand the need for it. I understand that if it wasn't for exclusives, some of your favourite games would never have got funded. A lot of them are funded based on exclusivity.
Like, honestly, like one of the best Spider-Man, is an Insomniac exclusive game. That was the only reason that came about, was because Insomniac kind of had that deal with Microsoft for a wee bit, where they produced Sunset Overdrive, and then that kind of went to shit. Not a terrible game, but people just don't really like it. And then Spider-Man followed up because Sony gave them carte blanche, and then they kind of have kept up that relationship with Sony versus what they could have had with Microsoft. And I always find that funny, is I feel like, do you think a lot of there's going to be a lot of those smaller developers that exist underneath the Activision Blizzard banner that are like, are we able to still negotiate with Sony because they've been giving us good deals in the past versus Microsoft, who have been giving us shit deals and now they own us?
100%. I think that will be something that will need to be ironed out, and as I said, that's who's going to be affected. It'll be the smaller companies, the smaller subsidiaries. Things, big franchises like Call of Duty and that, it's not really going to affect them. But it's going to affect the smaller indie type games. But I just think I've always understood the necessity for exclusives. I've never been a fan of it as a consumer, but as I said, now that I've got a gaming PC and I can play, Sunset Overdrive if I want. Again, I've never been able to play. It's been sitting in my Steam library for about 3 years. I've not touched it. That's not the point. I could buy it and I can play it whenever I want, whereas, before I couldn't. So it really has kind of affected my sway. I think I would be way more pissed off about both the Bethesda thing and the Activision thing if I was, more into
console pleb. No.
But I mean, to me, it's two totally different experiences, console gaming and PC gaming. Console gaming, you come in, if I come in after a long day at work, I want to sit in my boxers with a bag of Doritos on the couch and melt into a game. That's what consoles are for. Whereas if you want to play something competitive like COD, or you want to really immerse yourself, that's when you sit in your office chair at your desk, ultra wide monitor. Like, they're two very different experiences. There's positive to both. I don't really have a preference. I like both.
I think that stems from the idea that a lot of consoles were that kind of always supposed to be an entertainment system. I know that we made fun of Microsoft for really pushing that angle when the Xbox One came out. With TV. Achievements for Netflix.
That's right. That's right. So they did.
But I know obviously we made fun of them, but like, arguably you're right. It is an entertainment. It's that, as far as you said, you come in, you want to sit down, it's like you pick up the pad, you turn it on, you play. You're not like PC, where where you boot it up, you go through about 3 different games.
Oh shit, my Bluetooth headphones are connected.
It's not on this launcher, it's on a fucking other one. I've got a fucking update.
Oh, my save goes on my other hard drive, I need to drag it across. That part,
Like, I completely understand. I do love PCs. I think they're fantastic. I understand the gaming aspect as well, and I do have one. Obviously, I've got. I bought into it, and I'm part of the problem. Part of the problem. Part of the culture now. But that's the thing, is that like I completely understand though. There's that definitive distinction between what uh, consoles are providing versus what PCs are providing, and I feel like Microsoft are now going to try and bridge that gap almost, and
Yeah,
try and make them one and the same in that sense. I don't know if they're going to do it successfully, mind you, but I feel like with the more games and IPs they're acquiring, and the more their cross-platform cloud stuff and the game services like Xbox Game Pass are becoming more and more popular, because it's
yeah,
like you're paying the same price as you would for Netflix, and you're getting a library's worth of hundreds of games,
yeah.
which
Game
will
Pass
probably
is
now
crazy,
become even more. Game Pass is like a fantastic idea, and it's making them so much money.
and it's
Um,
saving the consumer so much
Saving
money
so much money.
at
Yeah.
the same time. So everybody wins, really.
Yeah, and arguably that's going to be the biggest tell as to how this is, as to what are the games they're going to start putting on Game Pass first.
The only
Is it going to be Overwatch 2? Is it going to be like Scar? Like, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen?
the only person that doesn't win is sometimes the developer, who doesn't get
Yeah,
told that their game is going to go straight to Game Pass. I've heard
it's
that a
very
few
true.
times, and they're
Yeah,
like, "What?" But read the small print, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting from a game development perspective as well, and I think it's one of the things that's going to take a bit of time to properly take effect. I mean, the deal hasn't even went through yet, and then once it goes through, okay, I know that big shows like E3, they always want to show you the future, they want to show you what's coming, but they also can't go too far ahead. Do you know what I mean? They can't be like, right, the deal's not been through yet, but here's the next three exclusives.
Mm.
It's like, do you know what I mean? They still have to, obviously, it's going to take a bit of time, but I think once it does have its effect on the market, I think it'll be fascinating to see how it affects sales and how it affects, public opinion and stuff. Um,
Mm.
it'll be an exciting time. But yeah, as you said, it's what to do with it. I mean, they could still drop the ball. Like they're gaming companies that, do you know what I mean? Everything can be set up, and they can still make a balls of stuff.
So
So
this
like,
is
it's
this is
nothing set in stone. That's guaranteed.
so obviously I said about how this deal was probably, it's one of those things, is that it might balls up. So here's an interesting stat for you. Activision Blizzard had revenues of in excess of $8 billion in 2020. Um, However, Microsoft posted more than $143 billion worth of revenue in the same period. So although Activision is one of the biggest players in the game, you can see it's a completely drop in the ocean
Yeah,
compared to what Microsoft were already providing.
yeah,
But it's just going to make, like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's those that, you combine that, you're probably seeing that Microsoft are going to be generating over 200 billion.
yeah,
If and when that deal becomes complete, because as you did say, the deal isn't completely over, and apparently there might be some logistical loopholes they'll have to jump through.
hmm
But at the moment, we don't actually know where that stands, which is quite an interesting situation. And I definitely agree. I feel like it could be like we're saying all this stuff where it'll change the game, and Microsoft could completely be like, oh well, we're only going to take X amount of IPs, and we're
yeah.
gonna
Well, people are scared. Like games like I mentioned, StarCraft. Apparently,
yeah.
I don't follow that series, but apparently fans of that series have been dying for them to do something with that IP for years. And now that Microsoft have bought them, there's a lot of people being like, "Oh, maybe they'll do something with it." And there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, that's it, it's buried."
Wait,
Like they're
wait
not
until you
going to
get
touch it.
a Starcraft skin in a fucking Forza game or something like that.
I'll be
Do you
as
know what
good
I
as you
mean?
get it. Aye. The other big kind of speculatory thing that's came out of this is whether Sony might do the same and try and buy another big publishing house. And the one that is getting rumoured is Konami. Um,
Ooh.
this There's been rumours for a while about Sony and Konami doing something.
Yeah.
We've heard rumours of Metal Gear Solid reboots, sequels. We've heard Silent Hill. We've been over all this, me and you must. But the point is, there's no smoke without fire. So there very least, there have been talks, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Sony, they might not have maybe quite the same capital as a company like Microsoft, but they're still a crazy huge entertainment company with huge financial, means. So to see them purchase somebody like Konami wouldn't be out of the question.
No.
Um, the question is, Konami are notoriously hard to work with and to negotiate with, so that could be the rub there. However, maybe not Konami. It might be someone else. They might buy, I don't know, Take Two. Imagine they bought Take Two and Rockstar became a,
I mean,
you know,
oh my god.
like
Well,
I
because
don't
obviously
know. Take Two are like Tencent are massive,
because they've
so that
obviously
would take
got
quite a lot.
they've got I guess kind of by proxy, uh well, I obviously there's that like weird relationship that like there's the Saints Row game that's going to be exclusively on PC through Epic,
Yeah.
but that's not like a full kind of like could blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be a full kind of relationship with a lot of the developers until later on because so if you're wondering another big company gives oh right okay
Yeah, so
so
this
these are
is
right this
I've
is
just sent a list of the
right.
non-owned big publishing houses that are still
Mhm.
up for grabs
I mean,
potentially.
I could definitely see Square Enix the next on the
So
list.
we'll go through them. So the first one's EA, which is also the biggest one at 38 billion.
Yeah.
That would be a bit out of reach, I think, for Sony.
Yes.
Take Two or 18 billion, which is quite a drop to be fair. Then we get Nexon at 15, Bandai Namco at
I'm cool.
15
Yeah.
million, Embracer 10.8, Netmarble 7, Ubisoft 7, Konami 6 billion. That's an interesting figure.
Mm.
Square Enix 5.6 billion, Capcom 4.9 billion, and Sega 3.6 billion. Out of those, I would say that Konami or Square Enix are the most likely. Or sorry, not Square Enix, Konami or Capcom.
That's what
Um,
I argue with it. I think it's Square Enix or Ubisoft.
I think any four of them. I think it was
Yeah.
Ubisoft, Konami, Square Enix, or Capcom. That would be enough to
Because I
be
think
to be a statement.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I
To be
think
like,
that
right, we're not letting you run away with it.
Sega is dead in the water. I feel like that
Yeah,
brand at the moment. I feel
yeah.
like
I feel like
it's
that would
not.
be you'd be eating a loss if you bought Sega.
Yeah.
You would have to lose a fair amount of money before you
Like
start making money.
okay, you're getting Sonic, but like you know what
Yeah,
like what there's a few things in the Sega back catalog you could use, but you're right, you would be eating money. So is this Jeff Keighley, isn't it?
yeah.
That's kind of
Jeff
what he was
Keighley
saying.
posted this. Yeah,
Yeah. So Keighley was also saying that actually that Take Two would be closer to 28 billion.
yeah,
When you add in the in Zynga,
yeah. Zynga. Yeah,
which is obviously another kind of the other kind of aspect, the kind of other subsidiary of it
yeah.
of Tencent and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
Take
So
Two and Tencent and
yeah,
Zynga and all that. It's
yeah.
quite a branching
So
thing. But because technically my mate Danny works for Splash Damage down in London, and I didn't know this. They're owned by Tencent, so
okay,
they've got their fingers in a lot of pies.
yeah, we do.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think as I said, it'll be interesting. Bandai Namco, there's another one as well that could get scooped up, but we'll see. I think a lot of it is franchise based, and I think when you look at Konami's back catalogue of franchises, I think in terms of demands from gamers, there is the most there from any of those companies. I mean, Ubisoft, you've obviously got heavy hitters like Assassin's Creed and stuff, but how in favour is Assassin's Creed at the minute, as opposed to something like Silent Hill, which
Yeah.
people have been starved for years of a game like that.
So
So
I think that's another thing as well. Obviously, as you're saying, is that there's those companies that haven't produced anything for years, but the brand is still strong.
yeah,
You
there's
know, and
still
I
a
feel
hunger there for it. Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
gonna be
mean,
quite
it's
interesting.
it's, it's just money lying on the table. Mass, you said you had another article ready to go. There was the Sony response. What was the other one you had? Sorry, was that?
Oh, so it was talking about specifically. It was when I actually pulled those statistics about how much Ubisoft, how much Blizzard, and how much Microsoft had made, and it was PC Gamer did an article asking about if the actual deal will go through,
Uh-huh.
by asking a lawyer because of the idea that the deal won't close until it's given regulatory approval,
Right.
and some observers think that that could be a massive challenge. So obviously, remember we we're going to go back to Bethesda because it was the most recent deal that Microsoft made that was as big as this. Well, not even nearly as big as this, but still fairly massive. Is that from their deal was main September and then closed in kind of like July or like closed like February even time.
Yeah, start of the year. Yeah.
In comparison, it's sitting here and it's there's a quote that is talked about kind of the what maybe the US response from the kind of big tech firms and the governmental stuff. It says, with increased scrutiny of big tech by US regulators, there's no guarantee that past transaction can provide complete certainty onto how this new transaction will be viewed. Indeed, the FTC and DOJ, which are the two kind of big regulating bodies in the US, recently announced a review of merger rules with a focus on digital markets. However, I feel that a large shift in how these agencies view these sorts of transactions may be required in order for material challenge to be raised. So I believe this is from an attorney called Kellen Voyer, who's the founder of Voyer Law, and they believe that there is going to be a lot more difficulty with this merger than the previous one with Bethesda because of how much money is changing hands.
Yeah, and well, I was going to say that. I mean, that is something that's going to come hand in hand with purchasing a bigger company because as huge as Bethesda are, they're not Activision Blizzard. So yeah, it's a bigger deal, and obviously there's the what's the word the notoriety baggage that comes with buying Activision Blizzard as well, which is going to have a lingering effect, I think, going forward. I mean, there was all sorts of boycotts announced of Activision Blizzard published games going forward by a fair amount of people on forums and on Reddit and on various places. How do those people feel now that, okay, a big company's bought them, but how does that change things? Do you know what I mean? How does that change people's opinion of what happened and what was allowed to happen? Under that roof. And yeah, that was for me. That was the one kind of yes moment was hearing that Bobby Kotick was out because I thought he was when he was getting to stay. I was a bit like he let a lot of shit slide.
Like you say, it kind of like it's like old ties, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't want to speculate too much because there isn't actually that much information out there about what he did and didn't know. But he was a CEO. Like let's not.
I was going to say you've got to know something.
You know what I mean? Let's not pass about here.
The only reason it remained so hush hush for so long is that it was definitely covered up from the top
100%.
But regardless of that, that's more than unfounded accusations and anything else. But you are right; it is good to see that they are changing house and they're clearing house and they're changing staff, and they're going to maybe start giving off the kind of maybe senior positions to more trustworthy people underneath maybe the Microsoft banner,
and maybe they'll start paying women the same amount of money they pay,
and maybe
that might help.
And maybe there'll be no wage cap, but who knows?
I don't know, man. I feel it would take more than this, but
I say with fucking Blizzard shady history, obviously.
Yeah, but I think regardless, it'll be fascinating to see what happens. I think I've said pretty much everything I've got to say. Mass, is there any other takes honestly, you have on this?
I think that whatever the result of this deal is, it is going to change and impact gaming regardless in some way, and I feel like it's going to change the game and give Sony maybe a bit of the arse. And of course we could talk about Nintendo, but they're after their own thing. They're fucking
they just don't give a shit. They're the wild card at this point.
Exactly. Nintendo could wake up tomorrow and Nintendo could have bought Sega and I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't even blink an eye.
I wouldn't even blink an eye. It'll
be interesting, and as you said, hopefully it gives Sony a well-needed kick up the arse to kind of pull out the big guns. But yeah, we'll definitely we'll stay on top of this as the weeks go by. If any other major developments happen, we'll probably hit on them.
Yeah, if the deal falls through or if it goes through, depending on what happens, regardless of the approval from regulatory bodies in the US, we'll see what happens.
But yeah, stay tuned for E3 2022, I guess, whenever
on
that comes
Pop Shock podcast.
We can go through all that shit then. So yes, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Pop Shock podcast. Bit of a short one this week because it's just the two of us, but we will be back again next week with another juicy topic to get our teeth into.
Just bite into it.
A big melon with the skin still on, just right through that, just run down your chin and all that. Here, do you know the best place to eat a melon?
Where?
In the shower. You don't need to worry about the juice getting everywhere, man. You just
and that bombshell.
He's just caught in a melon, just the shower getting on you and it runs away, mate. It's quality. There you go. My advice for the week: eat a melon in the shower.
Dad's tip of the week: eat a watermelon in a shower.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. Thanks, Matt, for taking the time.
Of course,
we will see you next week, and I'll let Matt do the sign off.
Yep. Well, we'll see you guys on the next page because we're still a comic book podcast in some way.
Cheers.
See you.